morning, everyone. I am heading out to pick up the new puppy that we are getting, and the drive is 2 hours long, so I thought that we would pop in and do a little bit of a question and answer with my handsome husband Anthony. Since we're in the car, this is about the only time we're gonna get this week alone to be able to do any type of question and answer, but I thought it would be interesting to get a perspective of chronic illness from the husband side. So that's what we're gonna do today. And again, I'm not gonna edit this video because of lack of spoons. So we're just gonna start, and hopefully you can hear him. He's gonna speak as loud as he can. I'm gonna try to hold the phone so it doesn't shake as much. So like I said, this is Anthony. And Anthony, why don't you tell us a little bit about, tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Well, I'm married to my lovely wife.
You need to speak up, I think.
I'm married to my lovely wife here, who's been dealing with a lot of things. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse for about a decade now, and we've been kind of on this journey together over the last little bit here, so yeah.
So when did you first learn that you were with somebody who was going to have illness probably for the rest of their life?
It probably really came to, it was probably a couple of years into our relationship. However, it is what it is. I've dealt with people that deal with chronic illnesses in my work on the daily, so it really was never something that I would have stopped me from being with her. But I think it was a couple of years into the relationship that it really kind of came that, okay, there's things going on in her life that, they're going to be a constant sort of in our lives.
What's the hardest part about being with somebody who has chronic illness?
Probably sometimes being the fact that you sometimes have to try and have energy for two people, especially when you're raising kids. Like Andrea tries to keep as much energy she can to, assist with that. But, she's got limited mobility, she's got a limited amount of spoons, and, you just have to keep on trucking, really, and, still try and keep the relationship as, alive as possible, too.
Okay, so we've talked about on this channel that chronic illness has been a part of my life for a very, very long time. It's amped up since getting sick a year ago. And what was your reaction when I had my first paralysis episode on Mother's Day last year?
Well, initially coming from an emergency background in nursing, a lot of things I kind of just, was like, I'll manage it as much at home as possible. But when she had no ability to move, no ability to talk, I kind of had to go, okay, this one's about what I can do. So we ended up having to call the ambulance, and we got her to the emergency room, which of course is, it was, I think, uncomfortable for her, also uncomfortable for me, because, we end up having to be looked after by basically all my coworkers. Not that, they were judging or anything like that, but, it's hard to be on the other side of healthcare, and, nurses do realize that, and I think sometimes people forget nurses are people too. But at the end of the day, it's hard being on that side of the healthcare, because you're dealing with the hardest days of your life, and that's really probably the biggest thing about it, is you are dealing with the hardest days of your life when you're in healthcare, or not working in healthcare, but accessing healthcare.
Okay, so if you deal with patients every single day, and now I become a patient, how do you balance the nurse in you with the husband in you who's married to somebody who's chronically ill? How do you separate those two things?
Well, you know, when you're a nurse, it's hard to separate those two things. Being a nurse isn't just being a nurse. Like, you know, you don't just go to work and you're a nurse, and at home you're not a nurse. It's kind of follows you everywhere. So it's not an easy thing to just, you know, turn off. I know there's times where, you know, I probably try and help Andrea more than she wants me to, or try and, you know, nurse her more than she wants me to, but it's because that's my natural go-to, because it's what's in my job.
Well, it's also two cooks in the same kitchen. I mean, I'm a registered nurse too, so I might have my ideas about care that I would want for myself, and your ideas of care could be vastly different. And normally, as a nurse, you work relatively autonomously in the field. You know, you don't have to compile both. Obviously, you work as a group in lots of situations, but
you know,
you get to make the call. But I'm also a nurse, and I get to make the call. What happens when you make a call and I make a call and they're not the same?
I think there's a little bit of frustration, but I think it comes from both ways. Like, you're frustrated because I maybe did something or wanted something that wasn't necessarily what you wanted, but then I may have been thinking in my head, well, but I think this is the best course of action for you. And you know what? I'm very well versed in things, even though you're also very well versed.
Well, we're well versed, but we have different kind of backgrounds in education and the demographic of people that we deal with. He works in emergency, and I worked in, like, say, a retirement home was where I worked probably the longest. And so there's a difference of opinion. When you go into the emergency room, you're kind of pulling all the stops to try to help somebody, whereas in a nursing home, a lot of times those people have chosen to have less interventions because interventions are invasive. And I think I spoke a little bit in one of my other videos about no, maybe I haven't yet. I have burnout from being sick, for fighting for my health for the last year. And I can only imagine a lot of people who have chronic illness have burnout from their chronic illness. And I've basically just had to take some time and let the system move at the speed the system wants to move at. And that's often, especially in Canada right now, especially after 2020 and all the pressures being put on the medical field, it's moving very slowly. You know, you don't see the specialist as quickly as you'd want to, and it takes a long time for follow-up and that sort of thing. So, you know, I have burnout, but I still have symptoms. So, you know, maybe your perspective of how I should be managing myself and my illness is vastly different than how I think I should be managing my health. What does it do for family life?
Well, it's busy because, you know, I've become the only person that's able to drive. I have to go to work. I have to cook a lot of the dinners, and like I said before, you try and help as much as you can, but at the end of the day, you only have so much energy to give and so much ability to give with your body without, you know, sending yourself into like a 2 or 3 day complete exhaustion where you're almost not able to get out of bed. So it's a tough balance to maintain, but you know, you do the best with what you're given, and that's all you can do.
Would you trade me for a healthier version?
No, I've grown quite attached.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, I think we talk a lot about this. You know, it's just something we've had to adapt to in our life. You know, you give as much as you can, and I appreciate what you do give. But at the end of the day, I also know you only have so much to give, and you know, we're working on finding ways or things that might assist in you being able to give more eventually. But at the end of the day, I just want to keep trucking along with you, because you know, like, when you choose someone for a spouse and that's the person you love and the person you want to be with, you find ways to make it work. You find ways to figure out, you know, like, I really believe, like, you know, they say in sickness and health, well, you know, this is sickness, so you know, you stick with that person and you work together. It's not always 100 or 50-50 each way, and you know what, maybe I'm giving more physically in terms of helping with the family, but you know, you contribute in ways such as, you know, emotional support for the kids. Like the kids need, you're the main person that they go to talk to. I know Gabby isn't old enough to really do that, but for your olders, they need you to be that kind of contact for that, and you know, they need you for that. So you know, if you expel your energy in doing that, that's an important part of being a parent and being a family. So everyone has their own kind of place to play, and you know.
Do you think that I'm still as valuable in the home as I used to be, and it just changed? Or do you feel like I'm burdensome?
I don't think you're a burden. Do I feel burnt out sometimes and feel like I just don't have much in me to give? Yeah, I don't think of you as a burden, and I also think you're just as valuable. You're just valuable in other ways. Like, you know, you're a sounding board for me when I need to talk and everything like that. And you know, I had my own kind of struggles that I went through over the last year too. So you were also there for me, and it's like I just like to look at it as everything's fluid, and you know, not every day looks the same, not every day is the same, and you just kind of gotta, I don't know, as Dory says, keep on swimming.
Do you ever get mad at me when I push myself farther than I should? Like the other day when I came down, and by the time I had made it downstairs, I was basically at the point of a seizure. But when I left my bedroom, I wasn't. I was tired, but I wasn't at the point of a seizure when I left my bedroom.
I don't think I'm mad at you. I'm frustrated with the illness. I think one of the major things is you have to disconnect the illness from the person. Like, yes, they're a part of the person, but they aren't the person.
Yeah, that's true. I see my identity separately from any illness that I might have. I see it kind of like as their own people, and they have their own personalities, and they work in my life in their own specific ways, but I like to think of it as something outside of me, because I don't want to become the illness. I don't want to be the illness. I mean, I have an illness, but I don't want to be the illness. And so maybe you kind of like compartmentalize in your brain the same way that I do. And it's like, okay, well, today is, you know, FND, or today POTS is bothering me. But I am not. I battle with them. I mean, I suppose that's why we use the terminology of like warrior, right? Like any, you know, you're a POTS fighter, you're, you know, a cancer warrior, you're because you're fighting something outside of yourself. That's probably how you have to maintain looking at it in a relationship to keep the relationship healthy, is like you two. I don't know if you guys ever had somebody say for like a relationship, when you're arguing, that, you know, you stand beside your partner and the issue gets put in front of you rather than in between, right? Like, you have to really remember that the whatever problem isn't in between you two, it's in front of you, and you're a team to tackle it together. So I would say that chronic illness really mimics the need to be a team, battling one, you know, fight, right? It's not just me, it's not just him, and my children too, right? Because they're affected. My oldest son, he's 13, he did say that he would do a question and answer with me from his perspective. So if you have any questions for my son on anything specific, or if you have further questions for my husband, I just thought that we would take the moment that we have together to do a little bit of a chat. You could meet him, and yeah, if you're interested in seeing the perspective of my 13-year-old son, and how my illness infiltrates his life and what it looks like, leave a comment below and we'll get back to you. But until then, thanks Anthony for popping in, and I might do a video on the way home just introducing you guys to the new puppy. But other than that, have a great day, and I hope your illnesses are treating you nicely today.